attempting to clear it, and I suggested puffing air down the pipe, to purge it. And abruptly, pow, I was hit with a cloud of fuel. Then the ignition source leaped, and my head was burning. A dreadful medical report, and U.S. broadcast icon Jay Leno is confronting the saddest period of his existence. The individual who previously entertained vast audiences nightly, who endured a fuel blast that consumed his features and a severe body-injuring motorbike wreck, is presently overcome by a quiet agony surpassing all bodily harm. Based on validation from a Los Angeles tribunal, Jay Leno is now the official guardian for his spouse, Mavis Leno, after her determination of progressed cognitive decline. This harsh affliction is making the partner who supported him for 40 years progressively lose memory of the spouse she long adored. As public attention recedes, Jay must face the isolation of his later years, an area where celebrity cannot rescue recollection, and the humor of the past is just a reverberation. What is actually occurring? The reality behind Jay Leno's hardship and the choice that shocked the globe is set to be disclosed immediately following this. On November 12, 2022, the showbiz industry was stunned by reports that Jay Leno, the figurehead of U.S. humor and famed anchor of The Tonight Show, had suffered a severe mishap. The event did not occur on a movie location or platform, but within his private refuge, his massive automotive storage building in Burbank, California. Precisely during routine maintenance activity on his 1907 white steam car, a prized artifact in his assortment of over 180 automobiles and 160 motorbikes, an abrupt accident transformed his enthusiasm into an ordeal. Based on Leno's personal detailed report, he was working to free an obstructed fuel pipe. The white steam car operates on vapor power. However, a minor quantity of fuel is required to first warm the generator. While Jay bent over, he forced pressurized air into the pipe, trusting it would remove the obstruction. Nonetheless, the force expelled a significant volume of fluid fuel directly onto his features. In a flash, the spark from the ignition source used to light the generator erupted, setting his head and upper torso ablaze like a human torch. Jay recounted the horrifying incident. "I was working to free the pipe, and I suggested, force some air down the pipe. Perhaps we can free it." And then abruptly, pow, I was sprayed with fuel, and then the ignition source flared, and my head ignited. The blaze consumed his torso, inflicting deep burns on his features, chest, and both palms, affecting roughly 7% of his total skin surface. While 7% might appear insignificant, the injuries were focused on the head, features, and palms, delicate and uncovered regions, rendering the damage exceptionally severe. Luckily, his enduring companion and technician, Dave Killalaki, was nearby. Dave acted heroically, dashing forward to smother the blaze enveloping Jay and extracting him from the smoldering vehicle. Dave remembered it was a frightening event. Haze saturated the space almost instantly. Fuel pooled on the ground,
and the prompt intervention spared Jay from graver harm. Lacking Kilalaki's fast response, the outcome would surely have been far graver, perhaps fatal or resulting in lasting mutilation.
The complete recovery protocol spanned 10 days, from November 12th to November 21st, and proved exceptionally intricate. 2 provisional skin replacement procedures. Physicians applied a biological skin equivalent to shield the injuries, block infection, and encourage the regrowth of new dermal tissue. Hyperbaric oxygen treatment. Jay endured numerous sessions inside a pressurized oxygen enclosure. This treatment assists the system in taking in extra oxygen, thus boosting blood flow to the damaged areas, hastening the recovery phase, diminishing swelling, and lessening scar development. This constituted a vital element in his almost total facial recuperation. Upon Jay's release, the Grossman Burn Center released a formal announcement validating his stable medical status and stating he would proceed with outpatient care and routine examinations. The most astounding aspect was not the extent of the injuries, but Jay Leno's response. While his facial dermis remained crimson and his limbs were heavily wrapped, he actively reached out to the media, expressed gratitude to the hospital staff, and insisted he was all right. He dismissed all recommendations for recuperation and delayed none of his booked performances. Merely 9 days following his release, Jay Leno reappeared on stage at the Comedy and Magic Club in Hermosa Beach, an establishment linked to his profession for 3 decades. This constituted a nearly unparalleled action within the entertainment sector. As he emerged, journalists observed his palms remained wrapped, his features showed minor scarring, yet his voice was undamaged. He began the performance by converting the mishap into humor. Recounting the incident in the workshop, Jay grinned slightly and stated, "My head was ablaze." He entertained for more than 60 minutes, never deflecting from the subject of the mishap, but handling it as a component of his work. The crowd at that appearance honored him with a prolonged applause. Physicians validated his exceptional reaction to the therapy and the lack of any indications of contamination. This serene composure and wit directly after a disaster reshaped Jay Leno's persona in the collective perception, transforming him from a noted television host to an icon of endurance and unmatched professional dedication. However, scarcely 2 weeks following the fuel explosion, while the memory of the burns had not yet diminished, Jay had to confront an additional trial. On this occasion, it was not flames, but an actual impact involving metal, bone, and determination. The successive series of mishaps prompted the press to wonder how could he possibly rise and persist in working after each tumble. On January 17, 2023, while evaluating a 1940 Indian motorbike, another classic vehicle in his assortment in Las Vegas, Jay experienced a wreck. An unflagged wire stretched across the lot, ejecting him from the motorcycle. The collision was so forceful that Jay sustained a fractured collarbone, 2 broken ribs, and 2 split kneecaps. In a discussion with the Review Journal, he summarized concisely, "I was thrown from my motorbike. I have a shattered clavicle, 2 fractured ribs, and 2 split patellas." The mishap transpired merely 2 months following the workshop fire, inciting great concern from fans as his well-being was perpetually tested. Jay was transported to a nearby medical center, cared for briefly, and subsequently resumed performing.
Despite physicians recommending he recuperate for a minimum of 2 weeks, he declined. His entertainment itinerary proceeded without alteration. During ensuing performances, Jay utilized an arm support and ambulated carefully.
He also quipped during his act that he would soon receive a reduction on emergency transport fees. The United States press covered it widely, labeling this his second mishap in fewer than 3 months. Numerous observers noted that Jay embodied a scarce diligence among performers of his era and almost traditional vocational honesty. However, the misfortune did not conclude at that point. 10 months afterward, on the evening of November 16, 2024, Jay endured still another mishap. While in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, readying for a performance, he lost his footing and tumbled down an incline almost 20 meters in length behind the Hampton Inn Hotel, striking his head on a stone, fracturing his wrist, abrading his features, and tearing off a fingernail. In a discussion with Inside Edition, Jay grinned as he recounted, "I tumbled down the embankment and struck my head on a boulder." He stated the tumble occurred abruptly as he attempted a quicker route to the parking area, and he fought to rise to prevent tardiness for his engagement. When hotel employees suggested summoning emergency services, he merely instructed them to wrap his wrist. That evening's engagement continued as intended. As he walked onto the platform, his features were contused and inflamed, and his right eye was almost closed. Jay began with a quip, "My right eye is taking a holiday." The crowd burst into amusement and subsequently gave him sustained applause when he concluded his 60-minute performance. Images captured in Pittsburgh rapidly circulated on digital platforms. The media depicted it as evidence of the seasoned host's remarkable stamina. A man who endured 3 severe mishaps in under 2 years without postponing one engagement. Throughout these successive mishaps, Jay Leno stayed strong, showing this not just via his bodily healing, but also via his professional diligence. Despite departing The Tonight Show, which he anchored from 1992 to 2009, and again from 2010 to 2014, he sustained a dense stand-up comedy itinerary. His itinerary frequently surpassed 150 performances annually, journeying through different states, mostly appearing in more intimate settings. Associates disclosed that Jay continued to drive himself to engagements, or pilot his own lorry transporting his classic cars to functions, employed no private aides, and traveled with just several suits and his standard microphone. This modest way of life presented a sharp divergence from his prominent profession. Based on analysts, Jay's prompt resumption of duties was not merely a show of endurance, but also a method of managing. For him, humor is existence. Resuming performance was the quickest means to reassert command, repelling bodily and mental suffering via amusement and crowd engagement. Preserving normalcy and routine was a stronger remedy than any analgesic. This is the dynamic that turned Jay Leno into the Iron Man of humor. Subsequent to the terrifying series of bodily mishaps and his resolute reappearances on stage, Jay Leno's existence encountered a completely separate sort of trial, one impossible to conquer with wit or steely resolve. The ultimate hardship was not combustion or metal, but the delicacy of the human intellect. This intimate adversity compelled Jay to openly disclose an aspect of his personal affairs that he had carefully shielded for more than 40 years.
On January 26, 2024, Jay Leno submitted a request to the Los Angeles Superior Court to formally be named the legal guardian for his spouse, Mavis Leno. This judicial maneuver created ripples across the press, exposing the agonizing reality the pair had been quietly confronting.
The court filings presented to the tribunal validated a grave medical finding. Mavis Leno was afflicted with progressed cognitive decline. The illness had resulted in her progressive loss of mental capacity, specifically the skill to handle intricate private finances, and she needed considerable help with everyday existence. While Jay Leno ranks among the most affluent individuals in the entertainment business, this petition was not principally regarding assets, but mainly intended to shield Mavis from judicial hazards and guarantee all healthcare choices could be executed swiftly and properly. The petition explicitly noted Jay Leno was designated as the exclusive guardian, a validation of the complete faith and uncommon lasting fortitude of their bond. 2 months following the petition, a thorough medical assessment provided to the court by Dr. Hart Cohen in April specifically detailed Mavis's deterioration. This assessment was one of the scarce public records showing the catastrophic impact the affliction had exacted on Mavis's cognition. Dr. Cohen affirmed that Mavis was contending with serious manifestations, including immediate memory deficits, spatial confusion, and widespread cognitive impairment. The most devastating particular in the assessment was the reality that Mavis intermittently failed to identify her spouse, Jay, nor could she recall her personal birth date. For an individual who had divided existence and affection for 44 years, becoming unrecognized by one's companion is a deep misfortune bearing more gravity than any severe burn. Nonetheless, the assessment also indicated that Mavis retained intervals of clarity and did not contest the legal request. This acquiescence was vital. She had faith in Jay, even when she failed to recall Jay's identity. The Los Angeles Tribunal rapidly managed the petition, acknowledging the immediacy of the matter, and arranged a proceeding for April. On April 9, 2024, the judgment was declared. Jay Leno's petition was granted, bestowing him complete jurisdiction to render medical, judicial, and monetary choices for Mavis. Throughout the proceeding, Jay attended with his counsel, poised and restrained. He refused to allow feelings to govern his behavior, displaying the total composure the populace frequently observes. He offered no extended remarks, merely affirming that his primary desire was to guarantee his spouse's security and monetary stability. He desired to shield their mutual holdings, amassed from his brilliant profession, from any misuse or oversight resulting from Mavis's medical state. Counselor Ronald Astrin, who acted for Mavis and is a household acquaintance, talked after the proceeding, alleviating public apprehension and respecting their connection. Mavis does not contest the petition and agrees to it. Mr. Leno is her guardian, and she has faith in him.
This declaration of absolute faith became a central topic in all press coverage, superseding the chatter about the guardianship process. In a short discussion subsequently, Jay talked succinctly, his tone subdued but steady, mirroring his worldview of acknowledging actuality. "She is all right. Everyone is fine. We are managing okay. I merely organized a testament should anything occur." His utilization of the statement, "organized a testament should anything occur," was characteristic Jay Leno minimization, an effort to reduce the intense quality of the intricate judicial and healthcare matter. He regarded his spouse's condition as a normal aspect of maturing, an event requiring practical management. His tone stayed firm, distinct, soft, yet positive, a survival method he had employed to endure the 3 preceding near-death mishaps.
The tribunal's decision prompted a major change in Jay Leno's itinerary and focus, something his prior injuries and fractures failed to accomplish. Jay altered his whole packed performance itinerary, which routinely surpassed 150 engagements annually. He nullified remote tours and agreed only to performances within the California region. The exclusive objective was being able to arrive home each evening to look after Mavis. The theatrical spotlights slowly yielded to brief commutes and eventually to intimate periods at his residence. Vocational diligence was supplanted by domestic obligation. Rather than navigating highways across the country, Jay remained at their well-known Beverly Hills residence. Several intimate associates disclosed that he personally prepared meals, attended to his spouse, and escorted her on strolls in their modest garden. The individual who previously made tens of millions from television now discovered significance in mundane duties. Intimate acquaintances shared that Jay preserved a consistent pattern of existence, a habit that assisted in grounding Mavis. Morning strolls with Mavis, afternoon inspections of the vehicles in the workshop, the location of the prior mishap, and evenings reviewing the daily paper with her, even if she failed to comprehend the material. A journalist encountered Jay at a modest philanthropic function in June 2024. When questioned regarding his present existence, he merely responded that the hours dedicated to Mavis signified more to him than all the celebrity he had ever attained. That response disclosed a distinct adjustment in Jay's hierarchy of importance after over 40 years in the public eye. The person who thrived on humor and velocity at last discovered quietude in the struggle against oblivion. Based on intimate sources, Mavis kept receiving consistent therapy at a dedicated cognitive care center in Los Angeles, and Jay invariably escorted her to each session, serving as a proponent, guardian, and the custodian of their mutual recollections. Dr. Cohen affirmed that she reacted favorably to stabilizing medication, notwithstanding considerable cognitive deterioration. Jay maintained confidentiality regarding all medical data,
disclosing it just to a tight circle of acquaintances and relatives, honoring his spouse's privacy completely. By October 2024, Jay reappeared to entertain at a compact Hollywood venue, one of his infrequent performances. The 90-minute engagement included several enduring associates. Most attendees failed to observe that he had dropped significant weight, a result of anxiety and relentless care. Regardless, Jay preserved his poised manner, his narrative style deliberate, insightful, and recognizable. He refrained from using his spouse's condition as content for humor. Rather, he centered on mundane anecdotes and subdued political commentary. Throughout the subdued years of attending to his spouse, recollections of Jay's splendid profession were frequently recalled. His remarkable endurance and professional diligence stemmed from his history, from the period when evening humor launched his name to the apex of United States broadcasting. Recollections extend back to April 28, 1950, in New Rochelle, New York, where Jay Leno, born James Douglas Muir Leno, entered the world. He matured in a middle-class working household in Andover, Massachusetts. His father, Angelo Leno, was an Italian-American employed in the insurance sector, and his mother, Catherine Muir, was a Scottish émigré and housewife. This modest, conventional domestic environment shaped Jay's subsequent humble and approachable brand of comedy.
From his youth, Jay exhibited an inherent comedic gift, frequently employing it as a survival and interaction tool for the dyslexia that remained unidentified until maturity. Jay recalled that academics were extremely challenging, but his capacity to elicit laughter from others earned him the favorable notice he desired. He frequently mimicked his instructor's tones and engaged in shenanigans to amuse his companions. That elementary delight, the urge to bond via amusement, was the initial catalyst that sparked his enduring vocation. Throughout his adolescent period, Jay held several miscellaneous positions, such as pizza delivery and automotive repair. These occupations stoked his profound enthusiasm for automobiles and supplied him with a vast collection of anecdotes about blue-collar life, which he subsequently utilized in his comedic acts. While pursuing communications and speech therapy at Emerson College in Boston, Jay was certain he desired to be a comedic performer. He commenced performing stand-up humor at minor local venues, frequently during amateur performance evenings. He balanced academics with composing material, developing brief acts to earn income, refining his improvisational talents and direct crowd interaction. Jay Leno's profession was genuinely constructed incrementally, upon the groundwork of intimate venues and platforms, not broadcast studios. Following his graduation from Emerson College in 1973, Jay Leno relocated to Los Angeles, where the broadcast sector was flourishing and prospects for new performers were increasing. Throughout his challenging initial period in California, he frequently resided in his aged automobile,
entertained wherever possible, and commonly lodged on acquaintances' sofas. The initial significant breakthrough occurred in 1977, when Jay had his debut appearance as a guest entertainer on the iconic program The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson. Carson, regarded as the benchmark for late-evening broadcasting, was struck by Jay's intelligent, wholesome, and perceptive brand of comedy. That concise performance earned him the notice of the audience and industry executives. From that point forward, Jay turned into a frequent guest on numerous entertainment shows, counting Late Night with David Letterman among them. He incrementally established his standing with bright, straightforward, and accessible comedy. Viewers adored Jay for his genuineness. He was the fellow anyone might feel at ease asking for a casual beverage. During the late 1980s, Jay was elevated to the position of enduring substitute anchor on The Tonight Show. This role not only provided him renown and a reliable salary, but also functioned as ideal training for the impending transition. In the early 1990s, as the iconic host Johnny Carson readied his departure, a fierce and theatrical conflict broke out internally at NBC to select a replacement. The two foremost contenders were Jay Leno and David Letterman, who anchored the program directly after Carson. Letterman was conventionally viewed as the rational selection, while Leno was perceived by Carson and executives as possessing the capacity to draw a wider viewership. Following numerous substitute hosting auditions and via an internally disputed resolution, NBC selected Jay Leno. On May 25, 1992, he formally assumed control as anchor of The Tonight Show, launching a fresh period of United States late-evening broadcasting. For more than 20 years, barring a short interruption from 2009 to 2010, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno evolved into a national establishment, an essential component of mainstream culture. Jay's program not only preserved, but fortified its dominant ranking in the late evening time frame.
Every evening, an average of 5 million watchers tuned in, producing billions of dollars in commercial income for NBC. Jay's anchoring method was a mixture of expertise, courtesy, and approachable wit. Jay consistently began the program with amusing quips regarding contemporary happenings and mainstream trends. His approach was non-confrontational and not excessively partisan, which aided him in becoming the evening's steady presence, someone all Americans, irrespective of political leaning, felt at ease viewing before sleep. He was additionally renowned for his capacity to chat with visitors, from top-tier film actors to public officials or divisive personalities, with a pleasant, civil, and non-argumentative style. He consistently aimed to feature the visitor, not exploit them to boost his own image, a principle many junior anchors subsequently embraced. Jay Leno was celebrated not only for his broadcast aptitude, but also for his nearly traditional professional diligence. He was noted for being the initial individual to reach the facility, frequently near 9 a.m., despite the program recording later in the day.
He composed the majority of his opening jokes himself and participated energetically in the creation process. He was an individual who was never tardy, never nullified a performance, and consistently honored the staff. Regardless of the demanding timetable of a 5 evenings-per-week chat show, Jay steadfastly entertained at intimate venues on weekends. He stated that appearing before a live crowd assisted him in remaining genuine and maintaining his comedic content current and relevant. This provided a boundless fount of ingenuity that aided his evasion of the self-satisfaction common in Hollywood. Enthusiasm for classic automobiles. Also, during this period, Jay started amassing classic automobiles, a youthful interest rekindled by his repair work. His workshop in Burbank progressively evolved into a personal gallery, dubbed the Big Dog Garage, containing hundreds of scarce automobiles and motorbikes, from the 1907 white steam car to contemporary supercars. Jay individually restored and serviced them, despite his dense professional itinerary. Jay once quipped, "Repairing automobiles is the finest holiday an individual can experience." This was his method for remaining modest, occupied, and distant from the opulent social scene of Hollywood. In 2004, NBC declared a stunning transition strategy. Jay Leno would step down in 2009 and transfer the anchoring position to Conan O'Brien. This premature resolution was enacted to stop O'Brien from being lured away by rivals. In 2009, Jay provisionally departed the program. To retain Jay at the broadcaster, NBC provided him a new show, The Jay Leno Show, broadcast in the 10 p.m. time frame. Nonetheless, this program was a catastrophic flop regarding viewership and harmed local network partners. Merely 1 year afterward, in early 2010, NBC rendered a startling judgment: cancel The Jay Leno Show and shift Conan O'Brien's The Tonight Show to a subsequent hour. This programming alteration ignited a bitter and highly visible late-evening broadcast conflict. Ultimately, Conan O'Brien departed NBC and relocated to TBS. Jay Leno resumed anchoring The Tonight Show in March 2010. This resolution was extremely controversial within the showbiz sphere. Jay was charged with being a traitor who acted selfishly and violated a pledge. Nonetheless, Jay stayed quiet during the censure, concentrating on his duties and anchoring the program. His principle was straightforward: "I am a worker. When the supervisor requests my labor, I will comply." Regardless of the negative press,
Jay preserved his viewership advantage throughout this time, validating his lasting attraction to the general populace. In 2013, Jay Leno declared he would formally depart The Tonight Show permanently in 2014, transferring the position to Jimmy Fallon. As the last installment of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno broadcast on February 6, 2014, it was a poignant occasion. The whole soundstage became silent. Contrary to the chaotic transition conflict of 2010, this departure unfolded in a respectful and heartfelt environment. Jay wept, gazed at the crowd, and stated deliberately, "This has constituted the finest 22 years of my existence." Jay subsequently recited Johnny Carson's traditional closing phrase, the forerunner he consistently respected: "I offer you all a sincere good evening." That modest sentence echoed as a goodbye and an homage, concluding a splendid period of United States late-evening broadcasting. The media of that day labeled it the most cordial conclusion in United States broadcast history. Jay Leno preserved late-evening television as a secure, approachable domain for every American household. Numerous reports commended Jay for establishing a new benchmark for the chat show category, blending wit, genuineness, reverence for visitors, and a remarkable professional diligence. Jay's program reliably topped the viewership, regarded as NBC's profit engine. Upon departing The Tonight Show, Jay did not declare his withdrawal from work. He merely stated, "It is the moment for a younger cohort to assume control." He persisted with his stand-up humor profession, revisiting his origins, touring throughout America, entertaining in intimate venues where the recognizable amusement still resonated as it had at the start. Readying himself for the series of dreadful mishaps and domestic sorrow he would confront in the time that ensued. As the broadcast illumination of The Tonight Show formally extinguished in 2014, numerous people in the showbiz sector anticipated Jay Leno would opt to retreat, savor his immense wealth, and stop working. Yet Jay, with his exceptional professional diligence, selected an alternative route, a more subdued passage, yet one filled with enthusiasm and unexpected turns. Rather than the brilliant studio illumination, he pursued the noise of motors, the scent of lubricant, and the delight of manual labor. This marked the beginning of a fresh excursion, a shift following the late shift. Jay converted his private pastime into a significant vocational endeavor. In 2015, he introduced the program Jay Leno's Garage on CNBC. The program rapidly evolved into a cherished broadcast series, not only for automotive aficionados, but for the wider populace. In this role, Jay served as the anchor, narrator, and technician. He guided audiences into the realm of classic automobiles, investigating the legacy, mechanics, and singularity of every machine. Jay's Big Dog Garage resembled an enormous personal gallery, a location that contained his limitless enthusiasm. Possessing more than 180 automobiles and around 160 motorbikes, the assortment ranged from historically significant, scarce examples like the jet-propelled Chrysler turbine car to contemporary supercars such as the McLaren F1. Every vehicle represented a narrative, carefully maintained and individually tended by Jay within a 1,000-square-meter facility in Burbank. This change was not withdrawal from work, but a reversion to his authentic identity, a technician who tells anecdotes, prepared to journey across intimate venues on weekends, reinforcing his status as the humorist with the most rigorous itinerary in America. Jay Leno demonstrated that endurance is not just exhibited by conquering 3 dreadful mishaps, but also by the tenacity of chasing enthusiasm and never-ceasing labor. He is a humorist, a technician, and an emblem of private and vocational fidelity. Jay Leno's heritage is not merely the evening amusement or the invaluable automotive assortment, but a confirmation of the strength of endurance. If you appreciate narratives about the professions and stamina of icons such as Jay Leno, feel free to demonstrate your backing immediately. Press the approval icon on this presentation, register for our channel, and activate alerts to ensure you do not overlook the following motivational narratives. And lastly, post a remark beneath and inform me what you believe is the greatest insight we can derive from Jay Leno's professional diligence and commitment in his existence.